first to farmers, who are now confirmed to be the next target of the Albanese government's emissions-cutting plans. This week, the Agriculture Minister, Murray Watt, urged farmers to have, he quotes, a higher ambition to reduce emissions. He also warned that Australia's agricultural sector, our exports, will become increasingly subject to offshore emissions standards, as well as tougher climate targets at banks and supply chain partners. Big concern. Joining me now for the latest, the Australian newspaper's environment editor, Graham Lloyd. Well, Graham, you and I both said this is coming. It was coming after energy, they'd go after transport. The early stuff started, really now going hard over agricultural emissions. Murray Watt's released the first of what we're told are 6 discussion papers. This one relates to farmers. Should our farmers be worried?
Well, good evening, Peter. Certainly, we've seen this coming on the horizon. The government is really committed to continually upping its climate ambition, and to do that, electricity won't get it there. So next on the list is agriculture, transport, buildings and other things. Murray Watt has released a discussion paper which is an invitation to talk and have good ideas rather than prescriptive. But you can guarantee that behind those words there's a pretty good idea where people want things to end up. For farmers, there are some opportunities here. If there's a way to increase farm productivity, store some carbon and get some money, well, that can be done through the Emissions Reduction Fund. But it's the other areas that are more problematic. I think we'll certainly see controls on land clearing, and there'll be demands put on the way people manage their properties. The big impost is going to be green tape and fulfilling the bureaucracy to stay in business.
I mean, fair enough on the soil carbon, but that often takes, because I'm told the best soil carbon comes from prime agricultural land and not from, wasteland in the interior of this country. That will then take out productive farms out of farming communities and productive farms out of our export earnings. That's the first point. But when you're talking about bovines and sheep and other sort of ruminant animals, I mean, unless you remove the herd numbers, you really can't do a hell of a lot about methane emissions from agriculture. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, there's a lot of work being done on feed supplements and that sort of thing, but this is a niche area at the moment. And as you say, good fertile land where you can do high rotation grazing and that sort of thing can be a very good system, but very difficult to apply to the marginal country. So you'll probably see 2 beneficiaries, one the small boutique area and the other the industrial farming area, where they will just work out how to play the system. Yeah,
it'll be the bankers and the big money men that put the money into farming just to take farms out of the farming equation and use them as land and carbon banks, which I think is a real worry. And just on that, of course, we had Westpac coming out this week. They've released a new, what's called a natural capital position statement, and it reads, Net Zero Banking Alliance 2030 targets for agriculture include a commitment to no deforestation, so no land clearing, which provides for no further conversion of natural forest to agricultural land within farm systems, and a whole lot of gobbledygook. But the underlying read of it to me is we're really not going to lend to farmers in the future.
Yeah, look, this is the leading edge of where things are going. And you saw it in the speech by Jim Chalmers last week, where he's talking about a new taxonomy where everybody who is involved in industry or business is going to have to account for not only their carbon emissions, but their impact on nature as well. So there's a big body of thought behind monetising and commodifying natural services. But again, for people out there just trying to do their thing, the danger is in the regulation that's going to be behind assessing everyone's behaviour and then sending out the bills accordingly.
Before the election, Labor said they wanted to have one of those COP meetings. in Australia. We know that's really why the PM's at the PIF meeting in the Cook Islands, Pacific Island Forum, sorry for the acronym to everyone at home. He wants to have this COP meeting in Australia. You and I know it'll cost us a lot of money, many millions to host it here, but it's all the billions we'll spend buying votes by promising this and that to the Green agenda in order to get countries to support us to host. Why on earth would we do it?
Well, it certainly must have seemed like a good idea at the time from opposition, but now in government they have to put some flesh on these bones, and Anthony Albanese is at this Pacific Islands Forum meeting, and true to form, the Pacific Islanders are being pretty coy. Some are saying, yes, look, we'll go along, but others are saying, well, you know, do you have to demonstrate your good faith, and that involves basically stopping all future coal and gas developments and what have you. The past leaders have signed a declaration say that would be the sort of price of entry for this meeting to take place. I think it's still a few years away, so there'll be a bit of toing and froing, and the Pacific Island nations, they have an interest as well of getting the sort of global attention. But at the end of the day, it's again all about the money.
Yeah, I think it's a massive shakedown, Graham Lloyd. Thank you as always. Fortunately, you're across all that detail.